Think of something from your childhood. Is there a movie or show reboot of it? Because I'm hard-pressed to find anything I can answer no to.
Every movie is nostalgia. Every song is a remix of an older song that we already like.
The stark decline of originality in Hollywood.
Put a negative stamp on is the originality.
Yeah.
I just think there's not enough variety in hip-hop. Like, everything sounds the same.
Take a second and think about the last time you experienced a piece of art that you felt was wholly original. Now think about how much of an abnormality that seemed. Every day we see recycled art, and it's not always what you might think. While the obvious culprits of remakes and sequels often come to mind, that is not the entirety of what recycled art is. B-roll in YouTube videos, songs being used on TikToks, meme being made of popular movies and TV scenes are all recycled art. But how did we get here? The first notable case of recycling art was in Greek times, roughly around 3000 to 12,000 BC. At this time, the Egyptians maintained a strong trade relationship with the Greeks, in which many stories, ideas, and artistic techniques were exchanged. For example, a lot of iconic Greek architecture was based off the Egyptian knowledge of constructive or weight-bearing geometry. Furthermore, many Athenian painters took heavy inspiration from Egyptian painters, using their techniques of overemphasizing the foreground and facial features to further distinguish people in paintings. Greek influence was not limited to their time period, however, as many future civilizations looked back at the Greeks for inspiration. Most namely was the Romans, who recycled many Greek works to learn from the Greeks and educate the public on their values and mistakes. For example, Augustus hired Roman artists to reframe Greek artwork depicting democracy in a negative light to highlight the pitfalls of having an unrepresented republic. Eventually, the Greek and Romans would inspire the painters of the Italian Renaissance. The Italians studied the Greco-Roman era for the concept of humanism, or the focus on the fundamentally human values of life, such as freedom and mortality. Italians used Greek and Roman techniques to convey these themes, which became wildly popular throughout Europe, leading to copies being made of the new Italian works. Humanism eventually inspired the art of the Enlightenment thinkers, which in turn inspired the political art tactics of the French Revolution. French artists at the time reused techniques from other artists, such as emphasizing the impact of civilians in battles to help weaponize the public. Artists also rewrote old songs with new lyrics that emphasized revolutionary themes, which was very effective, as songs could be sung socially and were not limited to the literate minority of the population. However, this was not the only time that recycled music was used politically. The Vietnam War was very unpopular among the younger generation in America. Artists at the time weaponized these feelings through a genre rooted in rebellion, rock and roll. Artists reused lyrical structures from both the present, looking at songs like Mary McGuire's Eve of Destruction, and past anti-war songs from World War II to find the most effective way to convey the anti-war themes. While not the only important examples of recycled art in history, we see some common themes from these examples. First, recycled art comes from other people and the quality of other people's work. Second, recycled art does not exclusively draw from the current generation. It is often taken from the past. Finally, recycled art can often be very popular, which causes it to be either iconic or influential. These themes can be traced in the four main causes of the recycling of art: nostalgia, risk, greed, and the quality of values of the original work. Now, let's go through these causes. Nostalgia is arguably the key cause behind the success and proliferation of recycled ideas throughout art. Nostalgia is often defined as a sentimental longing for the past. Nostalgia often relies on a person's memories of their past or simpler times, and this remembering tends to focus on the positive memories of the past and disregards the negatives. Companies capitalize on people's nostalgia by creating art that evokes the zeitgeist or cultural feel of a certain time period. Capitalizing on nostalgia is often easier, as artists have inspiration to draw from. But the reason that nostalgic art is so successful is because viewers already have a connection with the art going in. Nostalgic art often relies on bringing back fan-favorite characters, such as Arnold Schwarzenegger's Terminator, regardless if they are essential to the plot. And people's connection to art is a big factor in the next cause of recycling. As the art world has become increasingly commercialized and more competitive, more artists are fearful of bold and innovative works failing. This is catalyzed with the dominance of big-name art throughout the industry. These artists have found a safe, successful formula and are encouraged to not stray from it by company executives.
mean, if you really think about it, when was the last time any major Hollywood studio rolled the dice on an unproven concept?
These safe projects, such as Post Malone's and Call of Duty's yearly release schedule, are not only highly recycled, but also very successful, with Post Malone's most recent album, 12 Karat Toothache, being the first album to sell 100,000 units in each of its first 5 weeks. And Call of Duty has remained in the top 10 most successful games per year since its initial explosion in 2007. With this, many smaller artists see the success and feel forced into the conformity of recycling for the fear of their own works failing if they do not join in on the cycle. What is successful in the industry is the most important factor to our next cause. Art to many people is now a business, and as businesses progress, greed becomes a larger part of decision making. Companies have been looking for every feasible method to maximize profits. This trend has been spurred on by the increasing cost of art production. And as production costs are getting higher, companies are looking for ways to circumvent this. Due to the accessibility of recycled art, fewer employees are needed, fewer assets need to be purchased or created, and less time needs to be invested to make a cohesive project. This is still proven to rake in massive amounts of profits. In 2018, 24 of the 25 highest-grossing films that year were deemed unoriginal by critics. Greed has been further personified with yearly release franchises such as Call of Duty and Madden, which rely heavily on the process of asset flipping, or putting a new coat of paint over the old game and selling it as new. The final main cause for the recycling of art is while a lot of the previous causes have been seen as exploitative towards the original artwork, this cause tries to focus on preserving the value and legacy of the original work. This process is done mostly through reinvention and preservation of old work, which started with the Roman recycling of Greek art to display the values of democracy, morality, and spirituality. This continuation of values stems from the feeling of importance that older works hold and the timeless quality that many of their messages still have. Through recycling, new artists are able to preserve the values of previous artists and spread them to new viewers in a more appealing format, keeping discussion and the impact of these works alive. Now that I've explained how we got to where we are today, let's explain the most prolific types of recycled art. While not at the forefront of vocal songs, the instrumental is what keeps the song together. Ever since the 1980s, the process of sampling, or reusing and remixing a pre-established song for another song's instrumental, has been gaining massive prominence in the industry. This process started in the poverty-struck 80s Bronx as a way to make music quickly and socially at parties. This process became so successful due to its accessibility and its appeal to listeners. The practice was successful as people didn't need to learn how to play an instrument to make a captivating instrumental, and instead could rely on past works. Sampling gained popularity because it played on people's nostalgia, and became an easy way for artists to add a personal, emotional touch to their music. This process is also extremely popular in many genres today, most namely in dance and rap music. Artists like Daft Punk built their catalog off of sampling old tracks, and then those tracks were again sampled by artists like Kanye West. 85% of hip-hop artists use sampling in a majority of their instrumentals, and artists like Kanye West and Tyler the Creator built their career off creative sample usage. For example, both Kanye and Tyler sampled the Ponderosa Twins Plus One song Bound for their respective songs Bound 2 and A Boy Is a Gun. While sonically similar, both artists found a new way to remix the old song for each of their respective styles. Music is not the only field where recycling is extremely popular.
Too many bottles of this wine we can't pronounce. Too many bowls of that green, no Lucky Charms.
When looking at the art world today, it seems as if every big company wants a franchise, a continuous stream of content that spawns many different forms of art and merchandising. And the most prolific recycled art franchise today is the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Marvel's stories start recycled, being retold from comics from their existing back catalog, but it goes further than that. Arguably the biggest culprit of the MCU's recycled aura is the loosely connected storyline of the films. While many of the films and shows don't directly follow another's plot, they are part of the same overarching world and storyline. While this method is great for viewer attention, it makes the films blend together, leading to oversaturation and burnout. This oversaturation is further caused by Marvel's aggressive release strategy of a near monthly release. While this method is great for profitability, with Marvel retaining many of the highest grossing films at the yearly box office, none of the 8 of their 2022 releases managed to score above a 67 on aggregate review website Metacritic. However, Marvel and franchises as a whole will still stay successful due to the viewer attachment and hype. Franchise's main goal is to rope in people, whether they are diehard fans analyzing every little detail, or average people just seeing the movie as something to do with friends. This is essential to the business model of franchises, as the more investment that the companies can gain, the more continuous art and products they'll be able to sell in the franchise. Finally, we reach the most literal form of modern art recycling. While remakes and remasters can be seen in fine art, books, and music, their most common application today is through films and video games. Remakes and remasters are made to do two main things. 1, to modernize, and 2, to preserve old works. In preservation, we have re-releases, which generally focus on putting old content on new platforms, making old works available to new viewers on platforms where there isn't this option. This can be seen with older films being released digitally and on Blu-ray to give new viewers an easy way to experience old classics. Remakes and remasters instead focus on modernization. Remasters attempt to make the old work as appealing as possible to new viewers through tactics such as modernizing film formats or overhauling a video game's graphics. The most drastic option, however, is the remake, which focuses on making the old work seem as if it was released today. This can be done through discussing modern issues and using modern tropes, or having modern gameplay improvements for video games. While many remakes are positively received, many recently have been called lazy and disgraceful to the original. So, what makes a good remake? A remake has to walk a fine line of staying close to the original to not disrespect its legacy, but not too close that it seems pointless. Ultimately, the key to a good remake is positive updating, making changes that modernize and differentiate the remake from the original without losing the essence and greatness of the original. The recycling of art is a very layered discussion. It is not solely a good or bad thing for the industry and for artists. While not the only positives, the prominence of recycled art has led to major waves of accessibility and productivity throughout the industry, while also helping to preserve the legacy and value of classic works. But on the other hand, it creates a lack of originality and oversaturation for the art world. So while it has helped many artists get their start and has brought a lot of profits into the art world, its overuse has hindered some of the development we could have seen. But where does this idea suggest the art world is going? In my opinion, recycled art will become more popular, but we will see a divide in the type of recycled art we see. While we will still see the type I have discussed this far, many artists will also begin to leverage recycled art to make something truly unique. This trend has been proven to be successful with shows like Community and Rick and Morty, shows that have taken so many inspirations through their characters and parody episodes that they have become something completely unique. Additionally, original works will be further championed by critics and jaded viewers. Furthermore, the increasing quality of AI art will force artists to push back and make groundbreaking works to prove their worth against a computer that can make recycled art in an instant. As I've went through my topic, you may have noticed something a little off. I go on and on about recycling art and the effects of it, yet my entire video is built using recycled art. Other than the fact that I thought this would be the best way to present my topic, recycling's deepest root is through memory. Memory is one of the most key tools to our everyday actions, and our reliance on it is even more evident in the creation process. Truly original works are practically non-existent. There will always be some form of inspiration taken from something else. The works that feel truly original are in the unique combination of small pieces of other ideas. Recycling is unavoidable, but the best way for the art world to go forward is to use our reliance on inspiration to our advantage, to take many pieces of old art and to combine them into a new idea, to make something unique. Thank you. like to thank you guys all so much for watching. This will be my abridged thoughts on the topic because I shortened down for my final project for my research class. If you'd like my full thoughts on my topic, I'm going to be linking my final research paper in the description. Thank you guys again so much for watching.